On the shores of Sidi Beach, Algeria, a new chapter in warfare began to unfold on November 8, 1942. The first American infantry units surged ashore into North Africa, shouldering a weapon poised to revolutionize combat, even though most of them were entirely unaware of how to operate it. Tucked away in equipment crates stamped with the word secret were 5,000 M1 rocket launchers, a weapon that would soon earn the iconic name Bazooka. In a mere 18 months, this unassuming tube, costing only $25 to manufacture, would compel a complete overhaul of German armored strategy and ignite desperate efforts to replicate American ingenuity. The very mathematics of armored conflict were on the verge of being rewritten, not by colossal anti-tank cannons or intricate feats of engineering, but by a simple steel tube that any infantry private could master with minimal instruction. The bazooka was set to transform American soldiers from the prey of tanks into relentless tank hunters, bestowing upon every squad the power to annihilate the Wehrmacht's most dreaded weapons. That profound transformation ignited at Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, on the pivotal day of May 6, 1942. Colonel Leslie Skinner and Lieutenant Edward Yule arrived to witness a demonstration of various anti-tank systems, their own launcher having been hastily assembled that very morning from materials scavenged on site. As chronicled in Aberdeen Proving Ground's official history, Yule had unearthed a steel tube from a scrap heap that providentially matched the required diameter. Its sights were ingeniously fashioned from a wire coat hanger, deftly bent into shape with pliers. Army Ordnance had arranged for tests of British-designed spigot mortars, which were complex contraptions weighing over 100 pounds and demanding highly trained crews to operate. The assembled generals, among them Major General Gladion Barnes, the Chief of Research and Engineering, initially cast a dismissive eye toward Yule's rudimentary tube. The ensuing demonstration, however, would prove utterly decisive. 5 different spigot mortars launched their projectiles at a moving M3 Stuart tank from a distance of 150 yards, and not a single one found its mark. The crews wrestled with complicated sighting mechanisms, and the cumbersome weapons were agonizingly difficult to traverse with any speed. Then, Lieutenant Yule stepped into the spotlight. According to his own account, meticulously preserved in Army Ordnance records, "I wore a welder's mask for that first shot, thinking there might be a dangerous backblast. There wasn't. I put the tube on my shoulder, lined up those coat hanger sights, and squeezed the trigger. A powerful whoosh filled the air as the rocket erupted from the tube and slammed squarely into the tank's flank. Then I reloaded in 5 seconds and hit it again." General Barnes, after examining the weapon, reportedly exclaimed with a flash of recognition, "It looks like Bob Burns's bazooka," a clever reference to the radio comedian's peculiar homemade musical instrument. Within a matter of minutes, Barnes issued a direct order for 5,000 units to enter immediate production, and the factories of General Electric would commence manufacturing within weeks. By October 1942, General Electric and its network of contractors were churning out 5,000 bazookas every month. The velocity of this process was simply unprecedented, moving from an improvised prototype to full-scale mass production in just 5 months. Each M1 rocket launcher was a model of efficiency, demanding only 20 pounds of steel, basic welding, and simple electrical components that totaled a mere $25. The M6 rockets themselves cost a modest $8 apiece to produce. The weapon's specifications were a testament to its remarkable simplicity: a seamless steel tube, 54 inches in length and 2.36 inches in diameter, tipping the scales at just 13 pounds. A pair of dry cell batteries nestled in the shoulder stock provided the electrical spark for ignition. The rocket was inserted from the rear, a wire was connected, and upon firing, it could penetrate 3 to 4 inches of armor at a range of 300 yards. Captain Franklin Johnson, a training officer at Fort Benning, documented in his official report, "We could train a man to use the bazooka effectively in 1 afternoon. The same soldier would need weeks to master a 37mm anti-tank gun. More importantly, 2 men with a bazooka could go anywhere infantry could go." Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa, ignited on November 8, 1942. Sprinkled among the 107,000 American and British troops were units of the 1st Infantry Division, 1st Armored Division, and the 509th Parachute Infantry Regiment, all equipped with the very first bazookas to face the crucible of combat. Its debut was nearly a complete disaster. As historians Michael and Gladys Green have documented, General Eisenhower made the shocking discovery the night before the invasion that the troops had received absolutely no training on this new weapon. The bazookas had arrived on the shores in sealed crates marked secret, with strict orders forbidding them to be opened until the operation was underway, and no training manuals had been included. According to the after-action report of the 1st Infantry Division, soldiers were forced to decipher the weapon's operation while under direct enemy fire. Compounding the chaos, many of the early M6 rockets, damaged by moisture during their sea journey, either failed to fire or detonated prematurely. The 509th Parachute Infantry Regiment reported a grim statistic. Of their initial 20 rockets fired in combat, a mere 7 functioned as intended. Despite these teething problems, some units managed to achieve notable success. The 1st Armored Division's combat log for November 10, 1942, records an anti-tank team destroyed 2 Vichy French Renault tanks with new rocket weapon near Port Lyautey. Weapon effective when functioning properly. The German capture of American bazookas took place during the brutal Battle of Kasserine Pass, from February 14 to the 24th, 1943, when elements of the Afrika Korps 10th and 21st Panzer Divisions overran American positions at Sidi Bouzid. In the chaos, they seized substantial quantities of equipment from the retreating U.S. Second Corps. According to German military archives, 5 intact M1 bazookas and approximately 20 M6 rockets were immediately dispatched to Berlin for meticulous analysis. The Wehrmacht's weapons testing facility at Kummersdorf received the captured weapons on February 28, 1943. German technical reports from March 1943, now housed in the Bundesarchiv, reveal their immediate and profound assessment. The American rocket launcher represents a simple solution to infantry anti-tank capability. Weight 6 kilograms. Production requirements minimal. Effectiveness: penetrates 80 mm armor at 100 m. This weapon can be mass-produced using basic industrial facilities. The Germans, recognizing a game-changing innovation, immediately began developing their own version, strategically increasing the warhead diameter from 60 mm to a more potent 88 mm. By September 1943, the Raketen Panzerbuchs 43 or Panzerschreck had entered production. German production records show they would go on to manufacture 289,151 Panzerschrecks throughout the war, an impressive number, yet one that still fell far short of American output. Operation Husky, the invasion of Sicily which commenced on July 10, 1943, marked the bazooka's coming of age as a mature weapons system. American forces were now equipped with the improved M1A1 model, featuring better electrical contacts, and the far more reliable M6A1 rocket. The most celebrated bazooka success in Sicily transpired near Biscari in July 1943. According to U.S. Army Ordnance Observer reports, an M1A1 bazooka team from the 82nd Airborne Division achieved a truly extraordinary hit on a Tiger I tank, threading a rocket directly through the driver's vision slot, one of the vehicle's few vulnerable points. While this feat represented exceptional marksmanship rather than typical performance, it powerfully demonstrated the weapon's latent potential. The War Diary of the Hermann Göring Panzer Division for July 11, 1943, noted with concern, "Enemy infantry equipped with rocket weapons capable of destroying armor at 100 to 150 m. Tank commanders must exercise increased caution in urban areas." Colonel James Gavin, commanding the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment, reported with confidence, "The bazooka has given the American infantrymen confidence against enemy armor. In Sicily, we destroyed 17 German tanks with bazookas. The psychological effect exceeds even the physical destruction." During the arduous Italian campaign, beginning in September 1943, the bazooka evolved from a dedicated anti-tank weapon into a universal problem solver. The mountainous terrain and ancient medieval towns provided the perfect conditions for its employment. The December 1943 battle for Ortona vividly demonstrated the weapon's versatility. According to Canadian military records, bazooka teams developed mouse-holing tactics, blasting passages directly through buildings rather than exposing themselves on the perilous streets. The War Diary of the 1st Canadian Infantry Division recorded, American rocket launchers proved invaluable in street fighting, used against fortified houses with good effect. By January 1944, American production had soared to 20,000 bazookas per month. The M9 model had been introduced, featuring a clever breakdown design for airborne troops and a magneto-ignition system that eliminated the need for batteries. The M6A3 rocket, with its blunt nose, was designed to prevent deflection on angled armor. Fifth Army reports from the Italian campaign documented that every infantry battalion now possessed between 24 and 36 bazookas. The weapon had become standard equipment, as commonplace as machine guns. The sheer proliferation of bazookas forced fundamental changes in German armored doctrine. Wehrmacht Training Directive 43/18, issued in December 1943, mandated that tanks will not operate in urban areas without infantry support. All buildings must be cleared before armor advances. Minimum 100 m distance from uncleared structures. Shures and side skirts must be maintained on all vehicles. German tank crews began desperately welding extra track links, sandbags, and even concrete to their vehicles for added protection. The Zimmerit anti-magnetic paste, applied from December 1943 to October 1944, was also partly a response to the threat of shaped charges. A captured document from the 2nd SS Panzer Division, dated March 1944, stated plainly, American rocket launchers present in every infantry unit. Speed and shock tactics no longer viable. Methodical advance with infantry screening required. By D-Day, June 6, 1944, the bazooka had become an integral part of American infantry organization. Among the 156,000 Allied troops landing in Normandy were thousands of bazooka teams armed with the latest M9A1 model, now featuring an optical sight. The bocage country of Normandy, with its dense hedgerows creating natural defensive positions, proved to be an ideal hunting ground for bazooka employment. First Army records show that in the 6 weeks following D-Day, bazookas accounted for 12% of all German armored vehicle losses in the American sector. The 29th Infantry Division's after-action report for June-July 1944 noted, bazooka teams operating in hedgerow country achieved high success rates against enemy armor. German tanks increasingly reluctant to advance without extensive infantry reconnaissance. German production records revealed the stark industrial reality behind their response to the bazooka. The Panzerschreck, while technically superior with its 88 mm warhead capable of 160 mm of armor penetration versus the bazooka's 100 mm, was significantly more complex to manufacture. A production comparison from German and American archives tells the story. The Panzerschreck required 18 man-hours to produce at a cost of 150 Reichsmarks, while the Bazooka M9 required a mere 2.4 man-hours and cost only $25. By August 1944, America had produced over 400,000 bazookas. Germany, in contrast, managed to produce only 289,151 Panzerschrecks during the entire war. The Americans were outproducing their German counterparts by a ratio of nearly 2-to-1, all while manufacturing simpler, more portable weapons. The German Ardennes offensive in December 1944 provided a severe test for the bazooka under brutal winter conditions. The 99th Infantry Division's combat interviews, conducted immediately after the battle, documented numerous bazooka engagements. Technical Sergeant Donald Bracken of the 394th Infantry Regiment reported destroying a Panther tank near Rocherath on December 17, 1944. The rocket hit the rear engine deck. The tank caught fire and the crew abandoned it. Range was about 75 yards. The extreme cold, however, created documented problems. Battery failures in the remaining M1A1 models still in service required soldiers to warm the batteries inside their jackets. The 2nd Infantry Division reported that rocket propellant burned differently in sub-zero temperatures, adversely affecting both range and accuracy. Despite these challenges, 18th Airborne Corps records show that bazookas destroyed or disabled 89 German armored vehicles during the Battle of the Bulge. One of the most remarkable employments of the bazooka came from Major Charles Carpenter of the 4th Armored Division. As documented in his Silver Star citation and confirmed by multiple witnesses, Carpenter mounted 6 M9 bazookas on his L-4 Grasshopper observation aircraft. His combat record, verified by 4th Armored Division records, reads like a legend. September 20, 1944. 2 Panther tanks destroyed near Aricourt. October 1944. 1 Panzer IV destroyed. November 1944. 3 armored vehicles destroyed. Carpenter's aircraft, complete with its unique mounting brackets for the bazookas, was discovered in an Austrian museum in 2017 and has since been restored. His audacious innovation demonstrated the weapon's incredible versatility beyond conventional infantry use. Final production statistics from U.S. Army Ordnance records paint a picture of industrial might. M1 production reached 112,790 units. The M1A1 approximately 60,000 units. The M9, 26,087 units. The M9A1, approximately 277,800 units. And the M18 aluminum version, 500 units, for a grand total of 476,628 units. Rocket production was even more staggering, with a total of 15,603,000 produced. The unit costs in 1945 were remarkably low. An M1/M9 bazooka cost between $19 and $25, and an M6A3 rocket cost $8.85. A complete system, including the launcher and 10 rockets, came to approximately $110. For comparison, according to German production records, a Panzer IV tank cost 103,000 Reichsmarks, approximately $41,000, a Panther tank 117,000 Reichsmarks, approximately $47,000, and a Tiger I tank a staggering 250,000 Reichsmarks, approximately $100,000. U.S. Army Ordnance conducted an extensive analysis of bazooka effectiveness in 1945. Their findings revealed an average engagement range of 75 yards, with a hit probability of 85% at 50 yards, 42% at 100 yards, and 18% at 150 yards. The M6A3 rocket could penetrate 3.5 to 4 inches, 89 to 102 millimeters, of armor. A tank destruction analysis from the European theater, based on 1st Army records, showed that tanks destroyed by other tanks accounted for 38% of losses, anti-tank guns for 31%, aircraft for 14%, bazookas for 12%, and mines for 5%. These statistics likely understate the bazooka's true effectiveness, as many German tanks were abandoned by their crews when merely threatened by rocket teams, rather than being physically destroyed. Post-war interrogations of German officers, conducted by the U.S. Strategic Bombing Survey, revealed consistent themes about the bazooka's profound impact. While specific document citations in these interrogation summaries are often general, the pattern is unmistakable. Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, the German commander in Italy, stated in his interrogation that American rocket launchers forced fundamental changes in German tactical doctrine. The speed and shock tactics that had brought victory in 1940 and 1941 were completely negated by the ever-present threat of infantry anti-tank weapons. General Heinz Guderian, in his post-war writings, acknowledged that the proliferation of infantry anti-tank weapons like the bazooka invalidated the independent operation of armor, which had been central to German doctrine. The bazooka threat directly influenced German tank development from 1943 onward. German armored vehicle production records show the addition of Scherzen side skirts to Panzer III/IV models starting in April 1943, the application of Zimmerit paste from September 1943, increased side armor on the Panther OSF G model, and the development of infantry support variants with enhanced anti-personnel armament. These modifications added weight and complexity to German vehicles, reducing their mobility advantage, while American tanks remained relatively simple and reliable. Lend-Lease records document the wide distribution of bazookas to Allied forces. The Soviet Union received 8,000 units, the United Kingdom 12,000 units, Free French forces 15,000 units, Chinese Nationalist forces 3,000 units, and other Allied nations a total of 23,628 units. Soviet military archives indicate that while the Red Army found the bazooka effective, they generally preferred their own anti-tank rifles and later, the RPG-2, which was developed partially from bazooka principles. While less publicized than its use in Europe, the bazooka proved invaluable in the Pacific theater. Marine Corps records from the Battle of Saipan, June-July 1944, show that bazookas destroyed 28 Japanese tanks and countless fortified positions. The weapon's versatility was demonstrated through a variety of rocket types: the M6A3 standard anti-tank heat round, the M10 white phosphorus incendiary/smoke round, and the M7A3 practice round. Marine units particularly valued the white phosphorus rockets for clearing out cave complexes and destroying Japanese bunkers. On Iwo Jima, the 5th Marine Division expended a staggering 1,847 bazooka rockets in just 6 weeks of brutal fighting. The bazooka's continued relevance was proven once again in Korea, when initial M9A1 bazookas proved inadequate against Soviet-made T-34-85 tanks due to degraded ammunition. However, the rapid development and deployment of the M20 Super Bazooka, with its powerful 3.5-inch rocket, demonstrated the weapon system's remarkable adaptability. Marine Sergeant Robert Bennett's combat report from Pusan in September 1950 stated, "The new 3.5-inch bazookas stopped T-34s cold. First shot, first kill at 125 yards. The psychological shift was immediate." This rapid adaptation, from problem identification to solution deployment in under 90 days, showcased the inherent flexibility of the simple bazooka design. The bazooka perfectly embodied the American industrial philosophy of World War II. An analysis of its production methods reveals a genius for manufacturing simplicity. Any factory with basic welding equipment could produce the tubes. No special alloys or precision machining were required. The assembly time was a mere 2.4 man-hours per unit, and training time for assembly workers was just 2 days. Its distribution efficiency was equally impressive. By 1944, every U.S. infantry company had 5 bazookas, and every infantry battalion had 25 to 35. Ammunition was readily available through standard supply chains. This stood in stark contrast to the German production philosophy, which consistently emphasized technical superiority over sheer quantity. The Wehrmacht's focus on complex, high-performance weapons limited their production capacity and created significant field maintenance challenges. U.S. Army training records document the bazooka's profound impact on infantry doctrine. Pre-bazooka, in 1941, infantry anti-tank training focused on anti-tank rifles, ineffective against medium tanks, anti-tank grenades, requiring suicidal close-range attacks, and Molotov cocktails, desperate measures at best. Post-bazooka, from 1943 to 1945, every infantry soldier was trained in bazooka operation through a 2-hour basic course, and tank hunting tactics and coordinated anti-tank defense became standard procedure. The psychological transformation was documented in infantry school reports. The bazooka has given the infantry soldier confidence against armor. Previous tank panic has been replaced by aggressive tank hunting. Combat units developed innovative bazooka tactics, documented in their after-action reports. For urban combat, the 3rd Infantry Division in Italy pioneered 2-man teams operating from upper floors, targeting tank vision blocks and turret rings, and mouse-holing through buildings. For bocage fighting, the 29th Infantry Division in Normandy utilized concealed positions in hedgerows, targeting the side and rear armor of tanks and executing coordinated multi-team ambushes. For winter warfare, the 99th Infantry Division in the Ardennes developed techniques for warming rockets inside clothing, using snow camouflage for approach, and targeting engine compartments for fire kills. A cost-effectiveness analysis from Army Ordnance was nothing short of revolutionary. To destroy one German tank using other tanks, an average of 2.5 Shermans were lost, representing approximately $187,500 in tank losses. Using anti-tank guns, the gun and crew training cost approximately $45,000. Using aircraft, including aircraft losses and munitions, the cost was approximately $85,000. Using bazookas, with an average of 5 rockets and the occasional launcher loss, the cost was a mere $50. This staggering 3,000 to 1 cost advantage made the bazooka economically revolutionary. For the price of one Sherman tank, $75,000, the Army could purchase 3,000 bazookas and 20,000 rockets. The bazooka principle, simple, man-portable anti-tank weapons, became universal in military doctrine. Its direct descendants include the M72 Law, light anti-tank weapon, the AT-4 anti-tank weapon, the Carl Gustav recoilless rifle, and the entire Soviet RPG series. Over 40 nations have produced bazooka variants or copies. The fundamental concept of giving infantry portable anti-tank capability remains central to military organization worldwide. The German Tank Museum at Munster includes a permanent display on anti-tank weapons that prominently features the American bazooka. Their official placard states, "The American M1 rocket launcher bazooka revolutionized anti-tank warfare. Simple, cheap, and effective, it could be operated by any soldier with minimal training." German forces captured examples in Tunisia in 1943 and immediately recognized its potential, developing the Panzerschreck in response. By war's end, the presence of bazookas in every American unit had neutralized German armored superiority. The bazooka underwent continuous improvement based on combat feedback. The M1 in June 1942 was the original version with battery ignition, 112,790 produced. The M1A1 in June 1943 featured a reinforced tube and improved contacts, approximately 60,000 produced. The M9 in October 1943 had a two-piece design and magneto ignition, 26,087 produced. The M9A1 in June 1944 added an optical sight and improved coupling, approximately 277,800 produced. And the M18 in April 1945 was an aluminum construction, 500 produced before the war's end. Rocket development paralleled launcher improvement, from the M6 with its pointed nose and 3-inch penetration, to the M6A3 with a blunt nose to prevent deflection and 4-inch penetration, to the M10 white phosphorus warhead and the M7A3 practice round. The U.S. Army Military History Institute's comprehensive 1962 study concluded, no single weapon changed battlefield dynamics more than the rocket launcher M1/M9 bazooka. It democratized anti-tank warfare, giving every infantry unit the capability to defeat armor. The German development of their own rocket weapons in response validated the concept. In terms of cost-effectiveness, tactical impact, and strategic significance, the bazooka ranks among the most important weapons of World War II. An analysis of German operational records reveals the bazooka's strategic effect. Pre-bazooka, 1940 to 1942, German armor operated independently and with supreme confidence. Infantry fled from approaching tanks, and breakthrough and exploitation tactics succeeded brilliantly. Post-bazooka, 1943 to 1945, armor required constant infantry support. Every building and hedgerow became a potential ambush site. Breakthrough operations became costly and slow. This operational shift, documented in Wehrmacht war diaries, fundamentally altered the dynamics of the European battlefield. Bazooka production represented American industrial capability at its peak. In March 1945 alone, 42,000 launchers and 540,000 rockets were produced, involving 237 subcontractors across 34 states. This distributed production model made the supply chain incredibly resilient. No single bombing raid or act of sabotage could significantly impact bazooka availability, unlike German production, which was concentrated in vulnerable facilities. The bazooka's simplicity enabled its widespread adoption. Training records show the average soldier achieved basic proficiency in just 2 hours, and combat proficiency was typically achieved after firing 5 practice rounds. There were no special physical requirements, unlike with anti-tank rifles, allowing for effective use by soldiers of all backgrounds. This democratization of anti-tank capability meant that any infantry squad could engage armor, fundamentally changing battlefield dynamics. Comparing contemporary anti-tank weapons reveals the bazooka's clear advantages. The British P.I.T. weighed 32 pounds versus the bazooka's 15, had a range of only 100 yards versus the bazooka's 300, suffered from reliability issues in wet conditions, and featured a complex spring mechanism that required significant strength to operate. The Soviet PTRD anti-tank rifle weighed 38 pounds, had limited effectiveness against medium tanks, produced severe recoil requiring sturdy soldiers, and was a single-shot weapon demanding precise marksmanship. The German Panzer was a single-use, disposable weapon with a very short range of 30 to 60 meters, no sighting system, and a dangerous backblast area. The bazooka offered the best combination of portability, effectiveness, range, and reusability. Its strategic impact extended far beyond tactical employment. It influenced force structure by enabling lighter, more mobile infantry divisions. It simplified logistics with its straightforward ammunition supply compared to anti-tank guns. It streamlined training, allowing for the rapid conversion of civilians into tank hunters. It transformed the psychology of the battlefield, turning infantry from victims into predators. And its economics provided a massive cost advantage over traditional anti-tank weapons. These factors combined to give American forces a significant advantage in combined arms operations. The bazooka succeeded through simplicity rather than sophistication. While Germany developed technically superior weapons, America's ability to mass-produce and widely distribute good enough technology proved decisive. By the war's end, virtually every American infantry squad possessed anti-tank capability. This proliferation of firepower to the lowest tactical level exemplified American military doctrine, trusting the citizen soldier with powerful weapons and the training to use them effectively. The Germans had entered World War II with the world's most powerful armored forces, their tanks dominating battlefields from Poland to France. They were ultimately defeated, in part, by American teenagers carrying steel tubes that cost less than a bicycle. The bazooka proved that in modern industrial warfare, the ability to mass-produce and distribute simple, effective weapons could overcome technical superiority. It demonstrated that innovation didn't require complexity. Sometimes, the best solution was the simplest one that could be manufactured by the thousands. The bazooka's development, from Edward Yule's improvised tube with coat hanger sights to a weapon that helped defeat Nazi Germany, represents American industrial democracy at its finest. In just 3 years, from May 1942 to May 1945, American factories produced 476,628 bazookas and over 15 million rockets, fundamentally altering the nature of ground combat. The weapon's impact was both physical and psychological. Physically, it gave infantry the power to destroy tanks at practical combat ranges. Psychologically, it transformed soldiers from potential victims into active hunters. German armored forces, which had revolutionized warfare with blitzkrieg tactics, found themselves slowed to a crawl by the threat of rocket teams hidden in every building, hedgerow, and pile of rubble. The bazooka succeeded not through technical sophistication, but through practical simplicity. It could be manufactured quickly, distributed widely, and operated effectively by any soldier with minimal training. This combination of simplicity, effectiveness, and mass production embodied the American approach to warfare, overwhelming the enemy through industrial might rather than tactical brilliance alone. Today, every military in the world equips its infantry with portable anti-tank weapons, direct descendants of the bazooka principle. The fundamental concept, giving the individual soldier the power to defeat armored vehicles, remains as relevant now as it was when Lieutenant Edward Yule fired that first rocket from his improvised launcher at Aberdeen Proving Ground in 1942. The bazooka was more than a weapon, it was democracy made manifest in steel and explosives. It proved that free workers in American factories could produce simple weapons in such quantities that they would overwhelm the products of German engineering. It validated the American faith in the citizen soldier, trusting ordinary men with extraordinary firepower. The Germans were shocked to discover that their vaunted armored forces could be stopped by a simple tube that cost less than a week's wages for a factory worker. But that shock revealed a fundamental truth about modern warfare. In an industrial conflict, the nation that can produce the most weapons and distribute them most widely will prevail over the nation that produces the best weapons in limited quantities. The bazooka was, in the words inscribed at the former U.S. Army Ordnance Museum, proof that American ingenuity and mass production could triumph over complexity and craftsmanship. From the beaches of Normandy to the mountains of Italy, from the hedgerows of France to the forests of the Ardennes, the bazooka gave American soldiers the tool they needed to stand against German armor. That simple tube, born from scrap metal and coat hanger wire, helped write the final chapter of the Third Reich, one rocket at a time.